Get ready.
Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be taking a trip to the attraction graveyard, focusing our attention on Disneyland Paris Resort. Before we get into the video, we would ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and smash the like button if you enjoy the content. With that being said, let's jump into the video. Disneyland Paris has long been the most popular theme park resort in Europe based on annual attendance. Opening as a single gate in 1992, the resort further expanded and opened its second gate, Walt Disney Studios Park, in 2002. Initially getting off to a rocky start, Disneyland Paris Resort has continued to innovate and expand in a bid to keep attracting guests year on year. As a result, there are many Disneyland Paris Resort attractions that are no longer with us today. This is the reason we want to take a trip to the Disneyland Paris Resort attraction graveyard and take a look at some defunct attractions from both parks that you might remember. Get ready! Number 10. Disney Dreams. First up on our list is Disney Dreams. This now defunct Disneyland Park Nighttime Spectacular was first shown in 2012 in celebration of the park's 20-year anniversary. The theme of the show heavily revolved around Peter Pan, as well as other characters from classics such as Beauty and the Beast. In terms of production, the show was conceived by the same creator as World of Color at Disney California Adventure, and was a healthy mixture of projection mappings, fireworks and music. Lasers and other special effects that are synonymous with other Disney nighttime shows were also present. In total, the show lasted about 5 years before it was retired in 2017. Over those 5 years, Disney did its best to keep the show as relevant as possible by adding new scenes such as a Frozen scene in 2015. However, eventually the show had run its course and was replaced by Disney Illuminations. Number 9. Tarzan the Encounter. Tarzan the Encounter was a live Disneyland Park stage show which was shown in the Chaparral Theatre from 2000 to 2008. It was also briefly featured in the park from 2011 to 2012. The show tried to be as interactive as possible, and the entire stage was transformed into a jungle, with a host of hidden secrets, special effects, and of course vines to swing on. Aside from Disneyland Paris, a version of this attraction could also be found at Disneyland Shanghai, although this is also now defunct. Tarzan the Encounter still remains one of the most popular shows to be performed in the Chaparral Theatre, and would definitely have stood the test of time if it were to be shown again today. Number 8. The Timekeeper. Next on our list we have the Timekeeper. The attraction was a Circle Vision 360-degree film, but with some added elements not seen before. Firstly, the film actually followed a proper storyline, rather than just being a nice montage of different landscapes. Secondly, the attraction also featured audio animatronics that added to the overall experience. The storyline revolved around the Timekeeper taking guests on a journey of a lifetime to different points of time in both the past and future. Originally opening in 1992 at Disneyland Park, this attraction was hyped up by former Disney CEO Michael Eisner as Discoveryland's showcase attraction. However, Time magazine actually called it a massive flop upon reviewing it soon after it opened. With that being said, it did remain in operation until 2004, before closing and eventually being replaced by Buzz Lightyear Laser Blast in 2006. Number 7. Captain EO and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Next up, we actually felt we needed to include not one, but two defunct Disneyland Paris attractions. The reason for this is that at separate times, both attractions occupied the same section of Discoveryland in Disneyland Park. Captain EO was a 17-minute American sci-fi movie written by George Lucas and starred none other than Michael Jackson. It initially premiered in 1992, before being replaced by Honey, I Shrunk the Audience in 1998. On the other hand, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was essentially a 4D spin-off of the popular Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise, and provided an entertaining storyline whereby the audience is accidentally shrunk and forced to navigate some interesting larger-than-life obstacles. Ironically, the attraction ran up to 2010, when it was replaced by none other than its predecessor, Captain EO. However, this time the attraction was branded as Captain EO Tribute, in memory of the then recently deceased Michael Jackson, before closing for the final time in 2015 and later being replaced by Mickey's PhilharMagic. Number 6. Studio Tram Tour, Behind the Magic. Our next attraction takes us over to Walt Disney Studios Park, with the Studio Tram Tour behind ThemeSeekers. In all honesty, the attraction took a lot of influence from Universal and was pretty similar to the Backlot Tour at Universal Studios Hollywood, as well as the now defunct Backlot Tour in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Guests would enter the tram in the Hollywood Boulevard section of the park and be taken through scenes from famous movies such as Reign of Fire. The attraction was part of the opening day lineup at Walt Disney Studios Park and actually remained in operation as recently as 2020. However, like many attractions in the attraction graveyard, all good things must come to an end. Former Disney CEO Bob Iger announced in 2018 that part of the area that the attraction occupied would be used for the upcoming Star Wars and Frozen lands, while the Catastrophe Canyon scene would be turned into a Cars themed attraction, Cars Road Trip. Number 5. CineMagique. The next attraction on our list is another classic former Walt Disney Studios Park feature. CineMagique was a theatre show which blended a mixture of real-life acting with a combination of movie scenes, with the aim to take guests on a journey through the history of cinema. In total, the show lasted 26 minutes and could accommodate at a capacity of 1,100 guests per show. Live actors would perform stunts on stage and blend into the screen to really make the scenes come alive. Although, towards the end, the technology used in the crossover began to feel dated. CineMagique was also part of the opening day attraction lineup in 2002 and ran until 2017, before Marvel, L'Alliance des Superheroes, took its place. In our opinion, CineMagique probably doesn't get the credit it deserves, and it's important to remember that even though the live theatre show sat within a theme park, it was definitely up there with other spectacles seen in famous theatres from around the world. Number 4. Animagique. Next on our list of defunct Disneyland Paris resort attractions, and keeping in line with the live show theme, is Animagique. Located at the entrance to Toon Studio, Animagique took guests through a history of Disney animation, showcasing classic Disney movies that evoked a lot of nostalgia. The story was mainly told by Donald Duck and Mickey, but also featured a number of other fan favourite characters. Similar to CineMagique, the attraction was part of the opening day lineup for Walt Disney Studios Park. In total, the show lasted about 20 minutes and had a maximum capacity of 1,110 guests. It eventually closed in 2016 and was then replaced with Mickey and the Magician. Although Animagique was great, we're glad it was replaced with another amazing show. Number 3. Armageddon, Les Effets, Speciaux. This is another of the defunct Disneyland Paris attractions that we really miss. Armageddon was a live indoor stunt show that was based around the 1998 blockbuster Armageddon. The attraction aimed to recreate scenes from the movie using a wide range of special effects. Before the main event started, guests would be treated to a pre-show explaining what was going to happen, along with a brief history of special effects, before entering into the main show, which lasted around 7 minutes. Like many of the Walt Disney Studio Park attractions on this list, Armageddon was part of the 2002 opening attraction lineup for the park. Lasting nearly 18 years, the attraction finally closed its doors in 2019 in order to make room for the upcoming and highly anticipated Avengers Campus, and more specifically, Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure attraction. Number 2. Moteurs Action, Stunt Show Spectacular. Keeping in line with defunct Disneyland Paris attractions that really get your heart racing, Moteurs Action Stunt Show Spectacular was another death-defying stunt show housed in Walt Disney Studios Park. In short, the show ran for just under 40 minutes, with the main aim of its storyline to give guests an insight into how action movies were created. Scenes included car-based stunts, pyrotechnics, physical stunt work, and much more. It peeled the curtain back on some tricks that stunt performers use to make spectacular looking scenes with minimal effort. Some lucky guests could also get involved in the show. The attraction ran for just over 18 years and was a fan favourite throughout its time in the park. There was also another version of the show in Disney's Hollywood Studios. However, this was also closed in 2016 to make room for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. The closure of the Paris attraction was anticipated based on the major expansion currently taking place. However, the global pandemic most likely sped up this process, as it closed in March 2020. Number 1. Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. The last entry on our list of defunct Disneyland Paris resort attractions is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Some readers may not have been aware that this attraction existed outside Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. The Paris version was in operation in Walt Disney Studios Park from the opening day in 2002 until as recently as 2019. Upon the attraction closing, plans were announced that Rock and Roller Coaster would be rethemed as an Iron Man coaster, with a planned opening of 2022 in line with the opening of Avengers Campus. In terms of ride experience, both versions of the attraction were pretty much the same, but the storyline did differ slightly. The Walt Disney Studios Park version saw guests enter the fictional Tour de Force record building, where inside they would be told about a new musical experience currently being developed by Aerosmith and their engineers. Finally, guests would be ushered into the testing area before boarding the ride vehicles. Guests would then be launched into loops and drops to the tune of Aerosmith's biggest hits. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out some of our other attraction graveyard videos on screen now. That concludes our trip to the Disneyland Paris Resort attraction graveyard. Now you're ready. Let us know in the comments below which of these attractions you would like back in the park today, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already.